distinctive side. For instance, this flower has its own characteristics. It has its own substance, or it has own characteristics or the appearances or activities, value, beauty, so on. That is, realistic thinking. In Buddhism, they do not think so. So I told you last two times about this Nagarjuna's theory. That is a very essential Buddhistic thought. That's why I brought it again. And hoping you understand clearly this kind of doctrines. It says that everything arises according to the dependent origination. Dependent origination means that everything that exists or arises by the helping of all other beings. No thing can exist by itself independently. No? Everything helping each other. This one helping this one helping it. For instance, this flower does not bloom by itself without sunlight, without air, without water, without soil, without pressure, without temperature, without anything, all of things, even people. That's why, that everything must be one total, one same existence. But in the human mind, we have a very fixed point of view. For instance, I exist by myself. I am most important things than any other things that exist. So, this is a dependent origination. That is a very special theory or doctrines of Buddhism. No other religion, no other philosophies, have talking like this, dependent origination. So, Nagarjuna said, we regard it as an emptiness. Everything empty, because it needs help of all other things. It doesn't exist by itself. That's why, it has no, substance, no characteristics, no appearances, no value by itself. I showed you I explained you many times before. This color of the flower does not belong to the flower itself, because it is a sensation of the human, sense, human understanding. Human has a concept of the color, which belongs to a human side, of course, human feeling, human understanding. So people, understand the color in this flower. But the color does not belong to the flower. Color is here, human, that's a sensation. Color belongs to the human side, not the flower side. I explained many times. All human understanding belongs to human. Not with the objectivities in the world. Tree has not its own natures, own characters, characteristics, or substances, anything. That's why we understand everything has no self-nature, or self-existences. That's why we call it. Everything is empty, shunyata. If you have a question, please, present me your question. Because this is very important, theories or doctrines in Buddhism. If you do not understand this theory, you cannot understand all other theories in Buddhism. Even you don't know what you are, who you are. That's why this is very, very basic Buddhist doctrine. If you understand this, that's you understand the following sentence. But it is phenomenal reality. This is phenomenal reality. Phenomenal reality means that is not real, not actual reality. It is only temporary. It's changing all the time. So it is provisional things, transient, transcendental things. That's why, that if it has its own, permanent nature, it doesn't change, it doesn't decay. But it is decaying all the time. It doesn't stay even one short moment. Everything is like this. Even this container, this, Buddha statue are changing, always, very rapidly. That's why it has no self-nature, self-substances, self-characteristics, self, existences. That is, but emptiness itself become a phenomenal reality, temporary beings, this kind of a pretty flower. But it is empty. Empty is a beautiful flower. Beautiful flower is empty. That is called suchness, or a middle path. It is phenomenal reality by virtue of appearance, which is at the same time the middle path. Middle path is suchness. This flower is such. We cannot understand it. We cannot grasp it. We cannot explain it. Just we have to say such, this such. Everything is like this, such. I am such, you are such. That is true nature of everything, such. This suchness is empty. Empty, but it is, the phenomenal reality. Phenomenal reality is not staying, which does not mean, staying, because it is changing so rapidly. It doesn't stay, any second, any minute, any seconds. Everything is like this. So you cannot catch anything, you cannot grasp anything, you cannot understand anything. Everything is beyond your understanding or grasping or explanation. But the people wish to, people understand, they know something. But it is not true. People cannot know or cannot understand anything because thing has no nature, no characteristics, no substances, no self-existences. Therefore, we cannot, oh, this is flower. Where is the flower? Flower is changing all the time. It doesn't stay flower. When we pick the flower, and what is flower? This is the petal of flower. No? There is no flower in the flower. Flower is really empty. No? So, this is very, that's the true nature of the beings are so, interesting, so strange, so wonderful. Okay? So, this is Prajapati. This is a temporary being. It is the phenomena. Usually we call phenomena. Phenomena has no true nature or any reality in it. It is only the, the human concept. People have the concept of the flower, but the people do not know what the flower is. People have a concept of the flower. Concept of the flower is not the flower, but always people mix up own concept of flower and flower itself. That is human stupidity. People do not know anything at all. People do not know themselves, what they are, who they are. They don't know that. This is very, very important. Maybe you get mad to hear this. But I am sorry to say truth. But this is the truth. So, please, if you have any opposition or any question, please present it to me. So, each of them, each of the beings, everything, has these three natures. One is a provisional aspect, which is changing all the time. The other is empty. Emptiness is one of the big important nature of the being. But not this, not that. This is the middle path. This is suchness. This is the Buddha nature. This is the true aspect of a being. So this is one, the one thing, not the three things. Just like I am a human being, that is one, that's my aspect, one nature. I am empty, I have nothing, I have no self, no self, and I have no value. I have not a human, I am not a human being, because I have no self, ego inside. Ego is only my concept or others' concept. No? So that is only human idea, only notion or concept. But it is not true. I am not something. I am not empty. So what am I? I don't know. So that this I don't know myself, that is called such. You are such. I am such. This flower is such. Such is beyond human understanding. But this suchness is the true nature of the whole universe. Also, in everything, consisting, this universe, part, as a part, as an essence, as an element. So these small things make a whole total world. That is called universe. But nobody knows what the universe is. They have a concept of universe in their mind. Concept of universe is not the universe. But everyone has a concept of universe. You should, understand that concept of universe is not the universe. If you know that, you are called wise man. If you do not know that, you are ignorant man. Ignorant and wise are this kind, this very, simple, difference. So this is, very important. When I, advance my lecture. So the little, I like to add this little more. These three are Buddha nature, we call Buddha nature. People do not know. People, is always, staying in this, realm, this stage, mental state or mental state. I am something. I am really existence. Even they think so, they are changing all the time. You lived yesterday. It's not the same person you who is living now. And you are not the same person, the person who will be tomorrow. The idea is different. Physics or body is different. Everything is different. You have that's the same body, even 1 second. You have no same idea even in 1 minute. You have no same understanding, in 1 second, 1 hour, 1 day. That's why everything of you are changing. But in that changing, you have unchanging thing. What is that? That is Tathagata. Your Tathagata is unchanging. Yesterday you said I. Today you are saying I. Yesterday will be you will be saying I am. I is no changing. Okay? Because I is is suchness. Yesterday you are such. Today you are such. Tomorrow you will be such. No? Suchness is always such. No? This is also changing all the time. This is not changing that also. No? This is that stick. No? This is stick now. Stick now. Now is always continuous. Now is never changes. Now is does not change. Yesterday you had now. Today you have now. Tomorrow you will have now. Now is always now. Tomorrow will never come. Yesterday will never gone, be gone, have not gone. So, that's always now. So, you are, you have two kinds of you. One is changing you, the other is unchanging you. Changing you is this one, Prajapati. It is provisional, you. And the provisional you is always empty. But you are always you, not empty. If you are empty, we cannot see you. Empty, but it is visible. Empty, but you are, the living. That is suchness, tathata, Buddha. You are the Buddha, Buddha, from the beginning. Buddha is always like this. Everything is like this. So, this is the flower Buddha. This is the statue Buddha. This is the table Buddha. That is the plant Buddha. Buddha is the suchness. Buddha has 10 different names. Tathagata is very famous name. Tatha is such. Tatha is such. Agata is calm. Such calm. Everything is such calm. This flower is such calm, such appearing. Such appeared. This paper is such appeared. Or such calm. This, rosary is such calm. Everything is such calm, not only Gautama Buddha. Buddha explained this kind of truth, but most of Buddhists never understood this kind of truth is truth. Only Buddhism is medicine to distract suffering. No, Buddhism is not like that. Buddhism is teaching the true understanding, not a false understanding. When people understand the true nature of self, you have no more death, no more sufferings, no more anything. But it is not a nothing. Nothing is one kind of, one extreme. One is the only concept. Existence is the only concept. When we have a concept of existence, we must have a concept of no existence. Otherwise, concept of existence cannot arise. Those both are concepts. And this tathata is no concept anymore. Without concept. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Please.
Hi.
This is very important.
If you feel that the Buddhist
No, I don't say so. No. No. Buddhist teaching is not correct, not wrong. I never say it is correct, it is right, it is good. No.
Well, I just know that a lot of different places I check out tell me that their way is the only way and their way is the right way.
Oh, that is
and
very selfish, I know, judgment. You know, not true. Not Buddhism itself is beyond, is, get out from the dualism. You know, good is one extreme of, the dualism. You know, and existence is another extreme. You know, right and wrong is both extreme. We must go beyond. Okay, I never say Buddhism is correct. Buddhism is right. No. Buddhism is not, that's dualism. It is the middle path. This is the middle path we say. It is not existence, not nothing. No? Yes, sir.
Would you talk about the purpose of emptiness?
Oh, purpose is, purpose of emptiness is very meaningful. We have many purposes in it. Big one is to remove the human fixed idea, because most of the people have three kind of very fixed idea. One is things exist, and things has a dualistic character, beauty and ugliness. That is wrong. This one has the two opposite, the two opposite character, like beauty and ugliness. No. So, that's all human idea are dualistic. That's I think most of you understand. You are living. But if you have no idea of death, you don't know you are living. Idea of life arises at the same time of the concept of death. If you don't know death, you don't know you are living. Because all concept, that cannot arise by itself alone. One concept, there is no one concept anywhere. Concept must be dual, and that's parallel. No, not parallel. It is a dual, and they must be relative, dependent on dependency.
Opposites.
Yeah, opposite. Of course, they are opposite. So, in the in our language, there is no word to express two opposite meaning at one word, with one word. Prettiness. Do you know any word which express the not pretty, not ugly? We have no such term.
In Japanese?
No, not no languages have this kind of term, or language or words to explain not beauty, not beautiful, not ugly, not correct, not wrong. We have no such, not high, not low. Middle. Yes, sir.
How about the Sanskrit term Advaita?
Isa.
Advaita, which translates, Dvaita usually is translated dual, and the A meaning non, so non-dual.
Yeah. Non-dual is like a middle path, So, that it is only words. Yeah.
But wouldn't that word have somewhat that meaning?
Yeah. So we have to use a, in Sanskrit. A is not. So anicca, impermanence. Anatta is non-self. Just like that. So we must, use, the term of word of not. So, not is only adverb. So we negate, that's adjective. Yes, sir.
Would you cover again just that part you were talking about, that Buddhist philosophy is not so much medicine for suffering, but is more to make us have wisdom?
Yes. Wisdom is that's medicine to cure the suffering.
I see that as that's not as important, or is that, is that what it aims at?
Yeah, that means yes. The suffering itself is a big illusion. There is no suffering anywhere. Therefore, there is no medicine anywhere. There is no wisdom anywhere. If suffering or ignorance is actual being, then wisdom must be real. Enlightenment must be real. But wisdom or enlightenment, nirvana, all are like a medicine. All medicine must be poison. So we must use it correctly. Yeah. So if you misunderstand Buddhism, you must be a very sick, big sick. So, but you have no sick from the beginning. You are always healthy. Healthiness is the nature of a universe. You cannot get out from healthy. I show you that one example. Nature of water is always pure. When you put some dirt in the water, it becomes dirty water. People say dirty water. But when you stay, still for a while, all the dirt comes down. Then, water becomes clear and pure. Water never, get dirty. Is that right? Human nature is very wise and enlightened from the beginning. Sometimes we misunderstand it. Sometimes we have some greed passions. Then temporarily, we show the sickness, dirtiness. But now that when for a while, wait for a while, or when you meditate for a while, when you understand correctly, then all dirt is gone. You become a clear mind, and you understand, enlightened mind, pure and selfless mind. You cannot make impure or dirty mind. You cannot make this world a dirty world. No. World, nature, true nature of the world is always tathata. Temporary nature looks like dirty sometimes, but it is empty all the time. Therefore, not the dirty, empty, not dirty. No, it is such. Wise men see this, this suchness as a nature of the being. Therefore, your mind is suchness. Your mind is suchness. Your body is suchness. You have no disease. Disease and health is a dualism. If you like health and hate disease, that is a big illness. Your sickness is come from hate the disease. To hate the disease. If you do not attach to your health, and do not hate disease, then your mind is always, healthy, and your body is always healthy. You shouldn't hate anything. Diseases are hatred. So disease is very necessary. If you have no diseases or sickness, you must die so soon. You cannot live long. Because it is a warning to tell us, you have something wrong in your body, in your mind. Telling so, warning so. That is diseases. That is a sickness. We must understand on meaning, the true meaning of diseases, telling something. Wise men can listen to that meaning of the sickness. Stupid men cannot understand the meaning of a sickness. That's all. Sickness is very good to maintain, keep up your healthy condition. And stupidity is also very necessary. Yeah, if you have no stupidity, you don't need any wisdom. You have a wisdom, but you don't know. So stupidity remind you, that your wiseness, or your wisdom. Everything is so necessary, necessity. So we have no, that's unnecessary things in this whole universe. If we have no dirt, that we cannot get some vegetables or fruits. When we have a very deep pond, mud in the pond. So it grows the big plants of lotus. It blooms a big that's a flower. So mud and flower are same thing, no different. People, misunderstand it, misjudge it. And we like a flower, but we hate mud. That is, unfair. Okay. Then, do you have any questions so far? This is very important. When you will understand something, Buddhism, more deeper Buddhist doctrines, this is a very basic teaching. Huh? So, yes, sir.
This circle and also is one mind.
Yeah, that's right. One mind. This is one mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so is also this is also something to take into practice.
Yes, sometime. Practice is we have practice. We have three kind of practice. One is mental practice, physical practice, verbal practice.
What?
Verbal.
Verbal.
Verbal. It's very difficult for me. Verbal.
Yeah.
So, and practice must be one practice. If we those three, mind, body, and word, we have we have three kind of actions. Verbal action, physical action, and mental action. We have three different kind of actions. These kind of actions are not separated. It must be one. So we have those three different actions must be one accompanied. So Buddhist action is verbal. This is most that's a strong mudra. We say mudra is finger. We have another mudra like this, like this, like this. We have many mudras. Mudra is a finger, physical. And mantra is very mystical, powerful spell. When we wish something, we chant mantra.
To wish for something?
Yeah. wish something. We chant mantra. Like gyate haraso gyate hambodhi swaka. That is pranya paramita mantra. So that's, we have 100 more different mantras. And also the other is samadhi. Samadhi is a mental, concentration, concentrated, mental state, which is we put our whole mind in one single point. That is called samadhi. This is we have 108 samadhi, different samadhi.
Is this zazen?
Pranya paramita. No. Zen is a sitting meditation.
Yes, that's not the same.
Yeah, It is a practice. Okay?
Yeah.
We don't need any understanding in meditation. If we have understanding is meditation, meditation does not fulfill. Understanding is unnecessary. Just see it in the correct position. Just that the Buddha taught us. All masters, Zen master taught us. We have form. We follow to the same position and think nothing. Okay, think nothing. No understanding necessary in Zen. Okay? So, when body and mind are one, not separated. Therefore, when body follow to the correct truth, mind naturally following the truth, enlightenment. That is Zen. Therefore, the practice meditation. At that time, you don't need any understanding, any paramita. Pardon?
Comes naturally.
It comes naturally. Everything must be one. Mind and body must be one. When we prepare mind, then body, following to the mind. It's okay. That is paramita.
Is it useful to do mind exercises?
Mind extra.
Just concentrations. When you were saying mind in the beginning, you were talking about the three types of practice.
Yeah.
Verbal,
Yeah.
physical,
Yeah.
and mind.
Yeah.
And is it good to have a practice that is also just something that is a mind practice?
Yeah, it depends on the person. Depend on the person. Some person need only chanting. So everything, chanting is everything. And some people, only saluting, with gassho, like this.
Prayer.
So prayer, yeah. So they don't need any other practice. No. Because they don't need any understanding of practice, anything, any conduct. They are fundamentally the enlightened Buddha. We must understand this true nature. Otherwise we practice anything, 100 years, 100 lives, it in vain. No, no enlightenment. We are enlightened. We are the Buddha, We believe that. We understand that. So we don't need any other practice, understanding. Yeah. If you ask me where that Buddha said, in what that teaching, in what that sutra Buddha said, I show you, any time. Yes. So only that we have 100,000 of dispositions, characters, people, human, how to say, disposition, characters are so different. Just like, we have, ancient time, they said there were 400 different diseases. But today's, doctor knows, that's 3,000 or more, different, sickness. Even in the ear, ear sickness, we have 50 or 100 different sickness. In nose, in eyes, in tongue, engines, heart, lungs, everything has many numerous sickness. So we have many treatment. Meditation is a good treatment. Wisdom is a good treatment. We have more teaching. 84, thousand, the treatment Buddha explained. I think more than that. So each person, are like each person like some the sick man. For the doctor. Just like a Buddha was a doctor. All our people were the sick man. We have thousands and maybe the 10,000 and millions of sick men in this world. So we shouldn't say this is only one exercise. No. It is only one practice exists. No. Otherwise, why Buddha taught one exercise? He has spent 50 years from the beginning of talking, of the teaching, and until he died at the age of 80. He spent 50 years, but he taught many practices. If one the practice is enough or was enough, why Buddha taught one practice? But it is not so, because human disposition was so various. That's why he gave us so many kind of medicines. So some people, I like this, but some people, I don't like that. I like this. The other one, I like that. So we have 100. All treatment or the medicine must be good, useful. I don't know what kind of medicine is good for you. You must find by yourself. So we have, I show you, I introduce you the many different practices. So I don't say this is the best, this is only the practice. No, I'm not so stupid. Yes, sir.
So then how does one determine which is the optimal medicine? Does one keep trying one and then try another? Therefore you may just find what's the pleasant, not the good one.
Yeah.
And they're an infinite number. You could spend, forever trying different ones.
Yeah. So, that you must find try, to
Try
make
each
an
one.
effort. You should look for the best one or suitable one, which, how to say, applies you.
Well, what characteristics should one look for in, I guess, in oneself as a result of certain practices to know that it's beneficial?
Beneficial, that I don't know. You can go to that the food store, supermarket, Safeway. There are so many different food. selling person do not know what food you like, you want. So ask us, the storeman. I like, that meat. What kind of meat you like? Yes, the steak. What kind of steak you like? Yeah, I like, T-bone steak. Okay, T-bone steak is there. You find out, by yourself.
Yeah, but suppose someone says, well, I don't know what you want to eat, so I try ice cream and it tastes great to me, but I may really need spinach, which I may not like the taste of.
Yeah,
So I may just keep eating ice cream.
yeah.
So what should I look for?
Yeah, ice cream is, we have many kind of ice cream, it's 100 of different taste.
I like vanilla.
Yeah, but sir, you go to 31, then ask, give me some, how say, mint ice cream. So they scoop, mint one. So, we have many different, each person has a different taste, So, ice cream man is waiting for the customer. What do you want? I like, to try this one. Then, scream. They are selling. We are pleased, I know that, many kind of ice cream. So I'm asking you, what ice cream you like? Okay, this is you want,
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, just because that particular food or ice cream tastes good or better than something else, that doesn't mean that it is good or better than another food for me, or medicine, or sadhana.
Yeah. So the problem is this, people wish to eat it, and if ice cream stay in your stomach, it will become your poison. Then it must be gone, that's digested. Which means, if you understand this, that's teaching, otherwise it's no use. Buddha taught, 84,000 different teaching. But when people listened, many years, but still, they are not satisfied. So, that's waiting some suitable teaching. The Buddha knew the human disposition, so, that, he taught. He could read the human mind. So, he prepared good medicine. But that, yes, about
addressing his question, it seems like it's really a good one, and has to do with how do you know if you're heading on the right path or if you're taking the right medicine. Because sometimes we can kid ourselves, and we think this is really good for us, and in fact it's not. Like people attached to meditation, they sit and meditate, and it's no longer helpful to them. They're just getting kind of stupid, they're attaching to it. And so it's not always good. So how can you tell? And it seems like two ways is, one is that, do you feel your attachments leaving? You feel like you're less dependent on things. And if you are less dependent on things, then it's helping you. And also it's connected with peace. You actually get more peaceful as you become less dependent on how people react to what you say or what you eat. You just sort of start to enjoy it all. And as you see that happening to yourself, you say, well, this is kind of working, And if it's not like that, then it's not good for you. You getting all uptight and saying, I have to meditate today, then it's not very helpful. So, I don't know, that's sort of the way, one way I can see it. And there must be many others, ways of telling.
No,
Well, you have to go see the doctor.
yeah, doctor is, I am talking, explaining the, basic, what is, that's ice cream, what is medicine, what is medicine? So medicine and the poison are the same thing, I explained. So, that if you, the seeking the good medicine from one doctor to the other, you never find out the suitable medicine. Medicine is endless. But you have to understand, all medicine must be poison. That is most important, necessary, understanding. Okay? Buddha taught, 84,000 of teaching. What is that? That is all poisons. You listen to that, the Buddha's teaching. If you attach to the one teaching, you get sick. That is a big illusion. You must be free from all medicine, all teaching from the Buddha. You shouldn't attach to any Buddha, any teaching, any truth, any understanding. So you have no more trouble anymore. I said, that sickness is illusion. Teaching is another illusion. We have no sickness. Why do we need, that's a medicine? Medicine must be a poison. Buddhism is like this. Please understand, this what Buddhism, fundamentally. If you are looking for the happiness, following all and suffering is always following you. You never get out from suffering. Stop seeking anything. That is a big wisdom. Not seeking small wisdom. Big wisdom, whole wisdom, one wisdom. That is, you have perfect, enlightened being. Not only you. Whole universe is a big realm of enlightenment. You don't need any practice, any wisdom, any enlightenment, any nirvana. You must understand this point. That is true Buddhism. This is true Buddhism, not, Bodhisattvaism, not Shravakaism, not practical Buddhism. I think some very few percentage of people can understand this. Buddha taught this, kind of teaching in the chapter 2 of Saddharma Pundarika Sutra, Lota Sutra. 5,000 of bhikkhu and bhikkhunishu were stood up and saluted Buddha, and they left. Those people, Buddha said, they makes them they treat. They have still, conceit. They are still conceited. They have something, understanding. They have something. Their mind is not empty yet. They have some understanding. these people have own satisfaction. They have a little understanding, but not a big understanding. Our understanding must be universal understanding, not a selfish understanding, not a personal understanding. That is unnecessary. I am talking the universal self, universal enlightenment, universal wisdom, universal compassion, universal practice, not selfish sitting. No, that is not Buddhism, I say. Yeah. Some people, that started from that point, it's okay, not so many days. No? They practice 1 day, 2 days, 1 week, 10 days, 1 month, 10 months, a year. But, I never, advise them to sit without understanding, without wisdom. Practice of wisdom is important. Not sitting, that's meditation only. Is a very small sector teaching. So we must, live, the Buddha's way of life. Buddha's, went around all having the journey all over the India and spoke, to the people. He taught many the parameter. Then parameter is one, prana parameter is another. All other parameters, we have 100, different parameters. Some people like, one parameter, but it is not a universal parameter. So we show you, we tell you, or I like to introduce you, what is the universal parameter? Universal practice. Not only alone, own self, personal, the practice. That is, that is to Buddhism. Buddha, that spent all his life in, the Buddha's conduct. Not only sitting. Some, that's Hinayanam, or Abhidharman, Theravada Buddhist, hated, suffering. Then they went to the forest or in the cave and sit quietly. I am free. I am now Arahat. I am a Shravaka. They understood. But Buddhas, that's refuted, all refuted this kind of selfish people. You Shravaka, you are not Buddha's disciple, he said. If you are, that's Shravaka, why all other people are not Shravaka? If you are become a Shravaka, then all other people are not Shravaka, that is not Buddhism. Okay? So if you are Shravaka, you believe you are Shravaka. Shravaka means Arahat. That is a selfish man. So why don't you become the Buddha? Why don't you understand that you are the Buddha? Okay? When you practice any practice, at that time you must realize you are the Buddha. so you can practice anything. No? When you are walking on the street, you believe yourself. You are the Buddha. Then you can walk. No? When you hit others' head, okay? At that time, he must realize he is the Buddha. Then that is universal conduct. Okay? Otherwise, it is selfish conduct. Or even I give something to others. Take this, because you haven't. That is not, that's a true, offering. I give you this money for you or for the people. That is not, true conduct of Buddha. That is, very selfish conduct. There is no self. When we do or practice the dana paramita, we shouldn't have any idea of self. When we meditate, in the quiet place, meditation, at that time, if someone has the idea of self, I am sitting in meditation, that is not Buddhism. That is Mara's conduct. All of Buddha's conduct is Buddha's conduct. There is no self anymore. That it must be. All kind of conduct must be Buddha's conduct. Enlightened conduct. Perfect conduct. We have no destination anymore. Anything we do, that is real Buddhism. Yeah. So, if you have a big question, okay, please ask me why you say this kind of falsehood. Okay, I show you. This is not my, idea, not my assertion. I show you the sutra, and he is saying this kind of practice is the best practice, Buddha's practice. We have not a specific practice. From the getting up in the morning until go to the bed, all conduct must be Buddha's conduct. That is a Buddhism. Even good and bad, that is not so important. If we do not discriminate anything, there is no good, no evil. Evil and good is just illusion. So we must go beyond our human life. We are not human being anymore. We are the Buddha. From the beginning, before we were born, we are the Buddha. That is very important point to understand. Yes, sir?
Buddha reincarnation.
Reincarnation. Is it important for you?
Oh, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, if you like to reincarnate in better, life, so I suppose you will be. You will have. Buddha said. I can say so. Enlightenment is best little. You are living in. So no more than, no better, little than enlightenment. Yeah. Yes, sir.
This is a little hard to express, but it's a thought that I have a lot, and it has to do with how we know what to do.
We know, yeah, stop thinking, then become a free mind. Then you understand what you do.
So out of emptiness.
Yeah. No, that's emptiness. Everything comes from emptiness. No selfness, no selfless.
So
Selfless.
to know, I mean, purely, really, because I know it's an approach. It's not something we can all do all the time, but we work on it.
Don't worry that. That is big illusion.
But to try and get in touch with what it is that really is good to be doing.
Yeah, don't judge by yourself. This is good or this is wrong. You don't know wrong and bad,
So
evil.
there's no discrimination.
No discrimination. Anything.
No judgment.
No judgment. Yeah. Just, before you judge, you make your mind
This is
clear.
good, this is bad.
Yeah.
To do.
Yeah, you don't need to, judge this one good, this one wrong. Because human judgment is always self-centric, defiled. Therefore, human judgment is always egoistic, self-centric. Therefore, it is not correct. Just forget self, empty your mind, clear your mind. Then, whatever you do, that is Buddha's conduct. You never say, I do because I know this is good. No, you don't know, good or wrong, no. Just self, selfish, standpoint. That is, big illusion. All humans' standpoint or understanding are, defiled and impure and selfish. Yeah.
Let go.
Yeah. So, that we must, that pure, that we shouldn't judge and clear up our concept in our mind. If we have understanding or concept of things, feelings, it is not good, or illusion, we say. So, just, that we do before we, understand, we decide. Human decision is always, defiled. Always selfish. Yeah.
So how can the self? It's the self letting this. I mean, it's you have to use yourself to gain the wisdom. You
No.
have to-
Wisdom is selfless.
Like I decided to come here.
Oh, it doesn't come, doesn't go. It's innate. It is innate. Just like a memory is when we remind memory, or not. We have a memory. When we need it, we remind it. Just like that. Knowledge is knowable. I know, the knowledge, how much knowledge I have. But wisdom is unknowable. No one knows own wisdom. Even cat, dog, all animals, creatures has the wisdom, but they don't know their wisdom. But sometimes their animal's wisdom is much, much bigger or deeper than the human wisdom. Yeah, but the people do not know that. It is true, true.
How to live.
Yes, mindlessness, mindlessness, no mindfulness. That is, the Buddha's, mind. Buddha has no mind. No mind is emptiness. That is not, it's people, always a dualistic idea. No mind, when we say no mind, it is, just a void of mind, like this, like this, like this, It is not so. No, mindlessness is mindfulness, but no self in it. Yeah. No concept of self, no concept of good, no concept of doing, no concept of behavior, anything. Concept is only illusion. But the people, for the people, this concept is so various, valuable. But it is not true. Knowledge is just, that's a picture of the things. We have many pictures, in these things. It is picture of things. Flower is not flower. Human knowledge of flower is not flower. You have no self, because when you think you are self, I am I, that's a big, the illusion. I is not I. It is very funny, logic. But I is not I anymore. I is just a concept of self. This is big illusion. People do not know I or self. You don't know yourself. You don't know what the flower is. Just like you don't know you enlightenment. You don't know satori. You don't know wisdom. You don't know compassion. You don't know Buddha. This is very important, So you understand Mu, the Shunyata. This is very good for you. This is a big medicine, strong medicine. Yeah. Then all that's removed. This fixed idea, existence and self. We have big reality in the whole universe, self and other existence. Subject and object, objectivities. That is a big illusion. We have no such things. All are empty. When you understand, that's causation, relationship, or temporary phenomena, and nothingness, then you can avoid both of them, both ideas. And you have no idea that is tathata. You have no idea. This idea is not idea anymore. It is intuition. It is transcendental wisdom. No, concept in it. Your, understanding is appears, spontaneous, naturally. So you don't need to decide it. You don't need to aware of it, to be aware of it. All human awareness is an illusion. Yeah, I wanted to go little beyond more, but I spend because this is very good in theory. I like to explain that Buddha's enlightenment or Buddha's conduct from now on. But you don't know what Buddha is. That's why we cannot go, it's forward anymore. That's why I, went back and started again and come here. Then, people, seems to be very difficult to understand, selfless conduct. Then I went back again and again, many times. I, started from beginning of February until now. But very few people understood this kind of tasata, Satya. This is the Buddha nature. So still, this one or this one, go on the force, the force on the back, this one. This is very difficult for the Western people. So I wish to, come, take you to the realm of Tathata. So I like to explain your universal life, your eternal life, no death, no life anymore. Okay? No existence, no nothing, no suffering, no happiness, both. And your mind will be quite free from anything. Death and life is big illusion. You are still, you are living. Life is more important. So death is always, following you and catch you, someday. So you are the Buddha. You are the Buddha from the beginning. If you understand so, Buddha never be enlightened, because Buddha's enlightenment is equal enlightenment. Not the Buddha himself could be enlightened. That is different, quite different from the other human religion. Even Buddhist, we have 5.5 billions of Buddhists scattering all over. But they are Buddhist, but they don't know Buddhism. They know Shravakaism, Pratyeka Buddhism, and Bodhisattvaism, but not Buddhism. So Buddhism is only one vehicle. Everybody, everything, all universe are the one Buddha nature. That is Buddha's, Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. His enlightenment is one enlightenment, no more. Two, no three. That is Buddha's enlightenment. Yeah. We have many practice in it. All are Buddha's practice. Not, Bodhisattva's practice anymore necessary. But still, when some people need a bodhisattva's practice. No. No. They have.
What does that mean?
Bodhisattva is enlightened being. That that's how the literary meaning. Literal meaning is body is enlightenment, and sattva is being. So that we are enlightened being. But many people understand bodhisattva is next stage of the Buddha. Not yet attain to the Buddha's enlightenment. So they are instructing of the lower mind people and make them attain to the bodhisattva stage and go beyond bodhisattva stages and going to the highest enlightenment of the Buddha. That the instructor is called bodhisattva. So bodhisattva is not actual people, human being. No, they have no mother, no father. It is symbolized, personal. Yeah. Avalokiteshvara, we say, that is the symbol of the wisdom and compassion. Because compassion and wisdom are same thing. If there is no compassion without wisdom, that is not compassion. If someone have wisdom without compassion, that is not wisdom. Wisdom and compassion one. Yes, sir.
I get the feeling that this is a very difficult path.
Yeah.
That, I do feel that I'm on it, but listening, the feeling I get from you is that I'm nowhere. And, but I think it's the way I'm interpreting it, you're not discouraging people from getting on this path.
Yes.
You're encouraging us. It sounds very unattainable.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I use both, two-bladed, sword using. I negate. I affirm. It is, the one, that's a sword has a, double, blade. I cut, this side and that side with one word, one sword. People need this kind of double bladed, sword. I never allow them stay in one place. When you have, staying one place, fix the place, please get up, stand up, because that is, that's a fixed standpoint. So you should move this way. When they come this way, you must come this way. This is better. So I never allow any person stay, and fix the point. At last, people understand where I am. So I say, you are the Buddha. You can stay anywhere. You have no place to stay. That is a true Buddha. Yeah. True Buddha has no, stain, no stain, no fixed standpoint. No, because no self. Buddha has no self. Universe itself is the Buddha. And also, all human people, human beings, are Buddha. It is, how to say, it is, how to say, that's transmit, no. I always forget the good word. I forgot a good word, to presenting. It's no. I forgot the good word. I'm sorry to say. I forgot it. Anyway, we are the Buddha. The universe itself is a Buddha. One Tathata world. This is a Tathata too. This is a Tathata too. Because they are in one circle, in same nature. People, divided into three. But Buddhas, from the Buddha's point of view, they have no such divisions. Okay, any question, please?
Could you, not asking a big question, but could you just briefly talk about the different, the difference between living in the world and having a job, and the difference between that and living in a monastery?
No
Is-
different.
No difference.
No different. No up, no low, down. No, high, no low. We are same, that's enlightened being. In the knowledge world, there are some, scholar is more around people. They have, this, scholar has more broad knowledges, we are not around people. We have very less knowledge. So we must respect. They are higher, they are bigger than us. But that is, in wisdom world, we have no such, discrimination. Knowledge is dream. It is big illusion. We do not respect, that the person who has a big illusion. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that you were thinking about starting a small temple to live with people. What's the advantage of actually living and always being near the teaching?
Yeah, some people like it, but it's, I heard many people wish to study more. So it is, we have some place to live together, and we make the good schedule and study, more often. I think that is good for the people, some people. But it is not definite idea. No? It is a kind of tactful means, good devices. So I understand, that everyone is enlightened from the beginning. That's why, that we don't need to make them understand. They are already enlightened. But they do not understand that. Therefore they have many smaller troubles. They have. So for themselves, we wish to introduce more, the Buddhism more often. That is my wishes, desire. So we have a good temple, and we have many good instructors, and the societies, and we have a good publishment, publish a book or something, then introduce Buddhism to the all peoples. That is, I hope, but it is impossible. Yes, that is my desire. How do you think? When time comes, I like to, have a big temple and a big sangha. Sangha is a group of Buddhism. And introduce, show their life, correct life to the public. Then many people are interested in the Buddhism. So they understand on their wisdom and on their nature of enlightenment. If they understand the Buddha nature, they have no trouble of the war or any social problem in the human world, I suppose. Today, most of people think of self, and they never try to understand true nature. Only its own prosperity or survival. But they cannot survive alone. Themselves, their own self. If we are prosperity, that is a universal. It must be a universal prosperity. And peace is also. That means that universal peace. Otherwise, no peace in one country. No peace in one family, and no peace of oneself. We shouldn't hate anyone. Yes, sir.
Each person is different.
Yeah,
And each person has special characteristics.
that's right.
But those characteristics are not something that people can be aware of or should be aware of.
Yes,
They just are.
yes. You means everyone has own freedom to understand own way.
Like those flowers are different.
Yeah.
Each person is.
Each person, think of self. That is a human character. Therefore, they have war, fighting, arguing, all troublesome. So so no one can be safe or peaceful in this world. If he wish to conquer or defeat others, he must be defeated by others. Yeah. So there is no peace in the human world. In Buddhism, that's in some sutras, this world is the burning world. Burning fire of suffering, anxieties, and fears. Yes, sir?
So ideally, we are in the middle path in the way we exist.
No, yeah, this is, okay. yeah, I understand you have a question. Many people understand that this must be our best way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is.
That is, but it is not that is,
It's not.
No, it is, like a concept. All are concept.
Okay.
This is the concept of middle path. There is no path. Now that this one is one, path. No, not a path. No, this is one mental state. People have this kind of understanding. Then, they are not satisfied with this, understanding. So they understand, yes. And they, say, oh, this is better understanding. But this is not, better than yet. Because emptiness is not real, there is no emptiness anywhere. Emptiness is always empty. Therefore, this is not actual being. Okay? This is not actual being. It is changing all the time. No reality anywhere. But temporarily, we call it flower. It is phenomena. So it is not a real world. This is not a real world. Okay? And this is not a real world. Because if someone, I am here in the stage of tasata, suchness, that is not suchness anymore. That is concept.
Okay. Okay. Well, my question is, in the Buddha state,
Yeah.
okay, then one's desires or the way one moves through the world is through intuition, do I understand correctly? That then thought is just intuition? You understand my question? In the
Yeah.
Buddha state,
Buddhist state of enlightenment.
yes,
Enlightenment is not knowable.
not knowable.
Yeah. Everybody is enlightened from the beginning. When I find out Buddha nature in you, both you and I become a Buddha. So I salute, you are the Buddha. So everybody is a Buddha. So I have to, I must salute everybody like this. So we have no trouble. If I say you are Buddha, so I need to salute. No, that is concept, conceptual. You are not a conceptual Buddha. That you yourself is a Buddha from the beginning. You never become the human being anymore. Human being, but you are, human being is this, temporary being, phenomenal state. But you have nothing. You have no subject, no substance, no characteristics, and no nature, no activities of the human beings. All are perfect conduct, pure conduct. People understand or not? Yes, sir.
Well, I believe that, but it's real hard in Western society to accept that. 'Cause they keep getting, a lot of abuse from the police or the
Yeah,
system.
yeah,
I don't do drugs or
Yeah.
anything, but just for the way I look or the way I act.
yeah. Just, they are pretending to do so,
Yeah.
but their true mind is always, pure. Can you follow me?
Yeah.
Yeah, even that's abuse. That children abusing a friend, and parents abusing the children, but they are pretending to abuse others. But the true nature of the parent are the Buddha. We must understand that the meaning of abusing, true meaning. Just like a people, father hit the head of a child, that some other people, oh, that cruel father, he must go to a jail. And most of people think so. But we should understand the true meaning, deeper meaning of the bad conduct. Bad conduct have a great meaning in it. But the people only seeing or judging the surface of the conduct. It is not so, Therefore, they like it, they hate it. All are enlightened people. Therefore, there is no meaningless conduct anywhere. Even, that's stealing others, killing others, that is meaningful. We shouldn't judge so, easily. Some people, go to the war and kill 100 people and get, medal. When condition is different, time is different, place is different. All valuations are different. Killing is not good, not bad. Conditionally it is good, conditionally it is bad. Just like a medicine. So, all that the Buddha and hell are the same person. Conditionally we call it Buddha. Conditionally we call it him, hell, devil. Devil and the God is the same person. Yeah, I think some of you read, what is that? Satan was a great angel, very powerful.
In Paradise Lost?
Pardon me?
In Paradise Lost?
Yeah, Paradise Lost. Yeah, Paradise Lost. Yeah. So that idea, very basic idea of that novel is very Buddhistic. So I was so surprised. So Satan and the angel were the same person. That angel was powerful, of course. I think the most powerful among the angel. And he was a little conceited and did not obey to the God, Father God. So, started, the fighting. Just like a Mara, in Buddhism. Mara is a temptation. He's a god, Pindika, God, kings of Mara named Pindika, living in the heaven, just like a Satan. Yeah. And they came down to the human world and tempted, the people. What is Mara? Just like Satan. So Satan and God are the same thing. If there is no God, no Satan. There is no Satan, there is no God. It is Father and Son. Yeah, it is not in a Christian theology, in the Buddhist, that's how to say, dependent origination. We can say so. If we say, God, Satan is the son of God, and God is the son of Satan. If we say so, there is no Christianity anymore. No. Christianity is very realistic and dualistic. I hope, I think. This is my understanding. Okay. Thank you very much. I like to continue this kind of teaching. I like to introduce you Ikayana Buddhism. Ikayana. One Buddha, one world, one mind, one self. This is very good for you. Ikayana, one vehicle, not two, no dualism in it. This is the last teaching of the Buddha. I hope you will come and discuss with me. If you, read Lotus Sutra, this is very helpful for you. Lotus Sutra. Right name is Sadama Pundalika Sutra. This is very good sutra. Thank you very much.